Hans and Scotty, 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone. Jay Stevens seems like a guy that would appreciate a little good Def Leppard. How are you?
Absolutely love Def Leppard. I even have a Def Leppard tattoo. So
nice. Honestly, everybody's going to go pour some sugar on me. I think Photograph is, in fact, the best Def Leppard song.
Yeah, all right. I'm a Hysteria guy. I think it's one of the best songs ever written, but, to each their own.
Hey, that's all right. Hey, so I need your help on this as we learn this sport a little bit more and we get a little bit more like we're all in on the Utah Mammoth right now and learning about these players, but now we're trying to expand our knowledge to, what else is going on around the league and the other players and the other teams. Is Toronto's fan base always this annoying, or is this just a recent thing?
Oh no, this is Toronto. Toronto and Montreal have the most invested and also the most annoying fan bases in probably all of sports. I mean, they're going to be right up there with the LA Lakers fans or the New York Yankees fans. They're just rabid, and they have such high expectations. And they have, they get all the best players, and they just, when things don't go 100% their way, they freak out, want to burn it all down and start over again. Kind of like what you're hearing from the Jazz fans right now, too.
Yeah. Well, I'm looking at this Toronto team, and I mean, obviously a really good team, and they've got good players, but boy, they underperform, at least according to their fan standards, and they're burning jerseys, and they're just ready to wreck the place. It's like, hey, man, there's only going to be one happy team when this thing's all said and done.
Yeah, and they just expect, as the Canadian team hasn't won the championship in 37 years, and they keep thinking it's them that should be the next team to win. And I don't know if you noticed, every time Mitch Marner touched the puck last night on his last couple of shifts, his hometown audience, the fan base, was booing him. And I mean, this is a kid that's he's done everything you could possibly do for a team. It's not his fault they don't win a championship, but they're booing him. They're booing Tavares because they know those guys are going to be unrestricted free agents and can sign wherever they want now. And they're also trying to get rid of Brendan Shanahan, the GM. So I expect you will see that too. I do expect Shanahan to be fired based on that fan base. It's like you said, it's intense out there.
What's the market look like for Mariner out there?
Well, I think everybody's going to be looking for him. He's a 100-point guy. He's a phenomenal player. He's, if you have all the other pieces that he'd fit into, then he's the guy you're going to want to go for. I know the Utah Mammoth fan base. I watch all the boards, and I even chime in every once in a while, and I know a lot of people want to get him, and it makes sense. He's phenomenal. He's a top guy. But my problem with him and where he fits for us is we already have three guys that play the same style he plays. And when he becomes the setup guy, he becomes, like Clayton Keller fits that box. So I keep saying that's not the guy we want. That's not the guy that you want to go spend your free agent money on if you're going to bring in a big name free agent like that, because we already have that guy. I think we want somebody with a little more sandpaper to their game. So I think he's going to end up somewhere. I think it's going to be, $12 million a year to get him, and he's going to want a long-term contract.
How surprised are you with what you've seen out of the Hurricanes, and how do you see that series with Florida go?
I am surprised at Carolina, and I thought when everything was going on, with all the trades that were going on, and you saw what was going on with Rantanen, and then when he refused to stay there, I thought, okay, that kind of kills their playoff push. But they've got the right parts, and they're playing really well. And Sebastian Aho's just been outstanding. And it's funny because so many of my friends had this as a Carolina-Dallas final, and that's not how I had this. And it could very well be a Dallas-Carolina final, but the Panthers are tough, though. The Panthers, like I've been saying, are built for the playoffs. They have all the grit. They're going to grind you down, and I think this is a 7-game series. I think these teams are different but equal, and I can see them both getting a lot of goals and running with it. This is going to be a fun, not goalie-friendly playoff series, but I do think Carolina can get through it. But, man, Florida's just been the team I've picked every year for the last 3 years.
And it's hard to go against them, too, because it just really felt like in that Game 7, and, you think of Game 7, you think everything's on the line, but Florida it looked like physically and emotionally just broke Toronto there in that second period.
Yeah, and it's funny. I chirped one of my friends that lives in Winnipeg, and I just, because he's like, yes, Toronto's doing it. They're going to bring it home and win it, and everybody's going to be happy. And I said, there's no better way to destroy your fan base than to bring a Game 7 home and then get blown out.
Yeah.
And I said that 2 days before that game last night. So, yeah, Florida's good, and I hope people don't just hang this on, the incident between Bennett and Stolars where, they knocked out their starting goalie. I thought Woll came in and played really well. So, yeah, it was a good series. I thought the goaltending was good, and Florida just showed up in that last game, and they're going to show up in the first game. So they still have to be a favorite.
Dallas, Edmonton. Dallas moves on. The Oilers are there as well. This should be a fun series. What should we be on the lookout for this one?
This is the revenge of Mikko Rantanen to me. This is going to be the story. He got traded from Colorado, and he didn't want to leave Colorado. Rumors are it was over $500,000 over 4 years. So you tell me that $2 million that the Avalanche saved by not signing him and trading him is going to tell me they didn't just lose all that money this year by not advancing in the playoffs. And Rantanen beat them with a hat trick in the last game. I think, Edmonton's built, and they've got so much speed. Connor McDavid is one of the most exciting players to watch. Every time he touches the puck, you can just feel the air change in the arenas that he's playing in, and there's so much anticipation for what kind of, physics-defying magic is he going to pull off this time. I mean, he already has 17 points in the playoffs so far, and he's just phenomenal. And you got Leon Draisaitl with him, and good goaltending. It was with Pickard and Skinner. They've both been splitting games. So this game, I think this is another 7-game series. And I honestly don't know who to pick. I want to pick Dallas, but Edmonton could be the team to break the Canadian curse this year.
I want to go back in time a little bit. When you're looking at up-and-coming players, was Connor McDavid, was he a guy that everybody knew was going to be special, like almost immediately, or did he sneak up on people?
Oh, no. Everybody knew since the time this guy was 13 years old that he was a generational talent. And everybody, just like what the Jazz were doing, everybody was going to start trying to, lose games to try to make sure they got him. It did go to a lottery, and, Edmonton came out on top with that one. He is the best player in the National Hockey League, and there's just really no argument. There are so many phenomenal players, but he just has that next step, that X factor. There's a lot of guys that have the X factor. He might have double X factor. I mean, he's just unreal and so exciting to watch. And honestly, man, I know it doesn't matter if you earn a cup or not, but since Connor was 18 years old, he's put this team on his back and carried them, and he's done it with class, and he's done it with hard work, and he's just been an example for his entire career. So if anybody really can earn the right to win a Stanley Cup, I think it's Connor McDavid, and I would love to see his name on the cup. It doesn't have to be this year. I'm kind of wanting to see Dallas do it. I want to see this revenge of Rantanen, but I could see Connor doing it, and I would have no problem with that.
Is he the kind of guy, and again, we're learning about this league, not just the team here in Utah, but how the league works overall. Are there certain guys that because in the NBA, you'll see a dude that feels like he outgrows his market a little bit and says, okay, you know what? I want to go to a bigger market. I want to go where there's, higher profile. And Edmonton's been around forever. It's a legacy team. But is he the kind of guy that you ever feel like could outgrow the market and try to flex his muscles and go somewhere else?
I can't really see him doing that because, Edmonton is a huge Canadian market, and it is the home of hockey for what a lot of Canadians feel. The Oilers and the Leafs are just the Canadian team. I mean, you've got all the other teams, but that's their Yankees, right? That's their Lakers. And I can't see him really wanting to leave. If the LA Kings were right there and they kind of were this year, if he was the missing piece, like back in the day when they traded for Gretzky? Maybe, but he's loyal, and he's a Canadian kid, and I can't ever see him leaving Edmonton.
Did Gretzky kind of force his way out? How did that go down all those years ago?
Gretzky was kind of surprised by it. He didn't force his way out. There was a lot of other money things going on, and behind the scenes, the Oilers kind of felt like he had outpaced the ownership. I've seen a couple different documentaries on it, and I was young when this happened.
Yeah.
I think I was 12 or 13, and he didn't want to get traded, but he had married a Hollywood star, and they were splitting time between LA and Edmonton, and so it could have been doing him a favor, but when it came down to it, I don't think Wayne Gretzky actually wanted to be traded to LA. He took it with grace, but if you see you could see he was caught off guard. You could see the post-trade press conference with him. He's crying. He's in tears. He wasn't ready to leave Edmonton and to Mark Messier and that dynasty they built there. But I think that was just one of those things where he did outgrow Edmonton, and I think he outgrew the amount of money they could throw at him back then. This was, they didn't have the same kind of salary caps and stuff they have now. So he would have been kind of like what Mario Lemieux did in Pittsburgh. I think he would have ended up being a co-owner of the team because they would have ended up owing him so much money.
So when you look at the good karma that was essentially from the Smith Entertainment Group taken by the hockey team, and none was left over for the Jazz, which, hey, that's all right. But you move up to number 4 if you're the Utah Mammoth. What kind of player is available? And I believe you mentioned, it was you in a previous conversation who said that there will be players who could be ready to contribute almost immediately at number 4 for this team.
Yeah, that's the big thing. When you go from 14 to 4, anytime you're looking top 5 in the draft, you're looking at it definitely in the top 3. One of those top 3 can enter the NHL right now. And I said it last year with that Zev Buem out of Denver University. I said if we draft him now, he could play this year. They didn't take him, but he did end up playing in the NHL this last season. Man, there are 5 or 6 guys that could play this year. There's a big center that I'm looking at right now, 6'3", 210 pounds. His name's Porter Matone. He's playing in the OHL right now. He's a big body. He's got some sandpaper to him. The only real knock on him is his skating. But the top 3, if one of those guys doesn't go in the top 3 the way that everybody sees it, with Matthew Schaefer going first and Misa going second, the 3rd, 4th, 5th picks, we could get this kid James Higgins, an American-born kid out of Boston College. He's only 5'10", 177 pounds. But he'd come in and make an immediate impact as well on an entry-level deal, so we'd be paying him $900,000 a year. And, so that does leave us more money to go out and pick up a big free agent. But, yeah, there's kids that could make the lineup right now, and it's going to be really interesting. I'm putting my money on Porter Martone. I think that's the guy we need. I think he comes in and makes the playoffs or makes the lineup right now and pushes us to the playoffs. If we add Sam Bennett as our second-line center, this could be our 3rd-line center, and that just makes Utah, really ready for the playoffs. And I think that's the right move.
If they snag Sam Bennett, I got to imagine he becomes a fan favorite very, very quickly here.
Yeah, 100%. Sam Bennett plays on the edge. He plays with intensity. He plays, exactly how you want to see a guy play. Similar to what Jack McBain does for us, but with a lot more size. And he just fits in so many different ways with the kind of work ethic our team has. And, Sam Bennett does have a little bit of a history of a couple suspensions here and there. He plays on the edge, not to the point where, Marchand plays on the edge, or there's just feistiness to his game. And he's willing to maybe play right at that line and take a suspension every once in a while to send a message and help the team. But I don't think he's dirty. So I think he fits right in with what we're looking for. And the fans of Utah, he could be a back-to-back Stanley Cup winner as he comes in.
Yeah.
To fit in with our other Stanley Cup winners that we have here with Ian Cole and Sergachev. So it's, man, every time I think about it, the more I think about it, the more I think he is the guy. And I know there's a list. I know there's a long list of talented players that are out there. Tavares from Toronto's another guy, and we've got a lot of guys out there. Brock Nelson from the Avalanche is going to be unrestricted, so there are other guys out there. But for me, Sam Bennett fits the mold. You know, he's just going to get out there and grind and open some space and be exactly what we were lacking this year, and that I think gets us those 9 or 10 more wins this next season.
No doubt about that. And the thought of him in a, look, I'm not a Jersey guy, but I might have a Sam Bennett sweater. That dude just resonates with Utah and how people want their team to be and play angry and physical and all of that. I think watching him throughout the playoffs has been really fun, and it's been kind of an eye-opener to be like, okay, that guy's a free agent? All right, that's a dude we need to go all in on. That's a dude that the Utah Mammoth should attack for sure.
Yeah, I agree.
How unique is the setup? You've seen the plans. You've seen how, and we're going to hear a little bit of our Jim Olsen conversation coming up in our next segment. But how unique is the experience going to be for people watching a game here in Utah in Delta Center with what they've announced and what they're going to do to renovate this arena?
It's funny because when Ryan Smith and Ashley Smith talk about it, you can see how excited they get about it because they've gone to other arenas and they've looked and they've invested all this time and effort and money into developing something that hasn't existed anywhere else in pro sports. This is going to be a nice, intimate setting with you and 17,000 of your closest like-minded friends just right on top of the ice. And there's not going to be a bad seat in that lower bowl. And you're going to feel like you're part of it. And it is as crazy as it was last season, which was so much fun, even with the obstructed view and everything. Next season's going to be better. It's going to be more intense. And just like I said, so intimate to be that close to the ice and almost looking down on it from row 3. You feel like you're right there. And I think the closest thing, if anybody wants to Google what the LA Clippers are playing in and their wall of fans, I know that was kind of the goal, is to have a wall of fans. So when those guys hit the ice, all they see are fans. And it's just going to be, it's the thing everybody commented on. They're right on. They kept saying, yeah, the fans in Utah are right on top of you. And, Smith Entertainment Group did not screw that up. They kept that as their goal, and we're going to have one of the best arenas in hockey.
All right. I'm not holding you to it, but as of right now, before Game 1 start in these conference finals, give me how you think this is going to play out. In here in a couple weeks, Game 1 of the Stanley Cup Finals will feature who versus who?
I'm going to have to go Dallas, Florida.
There you go. Yep. That's what I'm thinking, too.
I'd like to see Carolina do it. I really like their team. I really like their coaching staff. But it's got to be Dallas, Florida.
Well, hey, Jay, you're the best, man. Appreciate you hanging out with me, and let's do it again here very soon.
Absolutely. We got a lot to talk about, so I'll talk to you soon.
Yes, we do. Jay Stevens, NHL, Utah Mammoth Insider, KSLSports.com, right here on 97.5, the KSL Sports Zone.